Clay.
Lynn, here we are again.
Man.
What's new?
I mean, I don't know. You?
You know,
I hear that sometimes it snows in Vegas.
Little known fact, it does snow in
Pigs
Vegas.
fly. Who
Sometimes.
knows?
Yes.
I'm just saying.
Yes,
I'm
it
just saying.
does.
Sometimes weird stuff happens. Like
that's what I love about the work that we get to do, both as fundraisers and as consultants and former fundraisers, and we get to see different parts of the country and see different places and get to learn different things. Like it snows in Vegas, like
gumbo is good.
Gumbo is good. Yeah, all the things. We get, and we have colleagues and friends all over the country and get to learn different things about different all over the world.
Hi, Canadian friends. How's your poutine? I love cheese curds.
Yeah.
So Clay,
but like going to conferences in different places and meeting fundraisers from all over.
When I go to conferences, I have this thing.
Tell me.
So pre-pandemic and post-pandemic,
Yes.
I go to conferences.
Yes.
I go to a lot fewer than I used to.
Same.
Probably because my Netflix just needs me.
Yes.
And other things like that. But when I do go to conferences, I love to connect with people. As they say sometimes, I'm big on LinkedIn, which really means I like to use LinkedIn. I misused that earlier. And
big on LinkedIn.
Yeah, it's not that I'm not humble. It's more that I like to use the computer.
I'm a legend in my own mind.
Daggum Skippy, baby. And I love to connect with people after the conference.
Yes.
Because in the conference, like I'm speaking and then adrenaline hits me and then I'm a puddle of, slobbering mess. And then sometimes I hit the reception and, well, those things, that's what this is. It's like being at a reception with people and getting to chit chat about what's funny.
Exactly.
So funny thing happens at conferences in that I love to get people's contact information so they can be their business cards.
Okay.
I know it's like old school, but
No.
it's not like you have a QR code tattooed on your forehead.
No. Although I do have one in my phone that you can just scan my phone and get my contact information, but that's a whole other story.
It's in the future. So as Clay is living in the future, other people are handing me their business cards. And when I get home or get to a stopping point, I'm like, oh, I can't wait to enter their contact information, my email, make sure they can connect. They get all the valuable resources on my website, donorrelations.com. Shameless.
Wow.
Hey, some days you got to pay the bills. Wow. And so I have noticed.
I'm sure there's a link to it on fundraisingisfunny.com.
Not that that's happening at all.
What, at fundraisingisfunny.com?
Did he say fundraisingisfunny.com?
I said fundraisingisfunny.com.
I think you did.
I did.
Good job, Clay. TCBfundraising.com as well. Might as well just round it out, folks.
Let's do it. All right.
So they give me their business cards, and 9 times out of 10, bless their hearts, as we say in the South.
Them.
And it's not their fault, but our fundraising, our nonprofit business cards have one thing on there that boggles my mind and one thing that's missing that boggles my mind.
Tell me.
There's usually a fax number, as in facsimile.
Facsimile. As in to send via a phone line a fax. Yeah.
That. Yeah, that.
That one? Okay.
Yeah.
Either that was a busy signal or a truck backing up. I'm not sure which.
But it was terrifying for most people and also proof that I am absolutely tone deaf. So I hope you all enjoyed that, listeners. Facsimile machine. And then the thing that's missing?
Yes.
Cell phone.
Okay, so you're telling me wait, hold on.
Yes.
It's 2023. You get a business card. Now, are you saying like all of them or a lot of them? Or
9 out of 10.
9 out of 10 still have a fax number.
I mean, if I were going to Vegas when it was snowing and betting, because I'm not a gambler, but I like to gamble. I'd put money on the fact that at least 6 out of 10 have a fax machine.
Interesting.
And I don't even know if some of our nonprofit employees are old enough to have ever sent a fax. Our friend Julie here.
Our friend Julie
never sent one.
Never used a fax.
It's kind of like one time in bank. No, not at bank camp, but one time I was teaching some students and they said to me, "You keep saying hang up the phone. Where are you hanging it?"
Nice.
And I realized how old I was.
Nice.
And then I remember the kitchen phone with the really, really long cord that I used to hide in the hallway and talk to my quote unquote boyfriend with. And that these people just slide to hang up their phones.
Okay. So keep talking. I'm listening because there's a word for this.
Not electric slide, but other kinds of slides. So facsimile machines.
Yes.
I have not sent a fax for a fundraising purpose. since, well, Prince was alive. So,
Oh.
well, I love Prince. Don't ever, since the turn of the new millennium.
Okay.
Now,
in fairness, I did work for an organization 6 or 7 years ago. We had one board member who insisted that we fax materials to him.
fire that board member.
Well,
That's just absolutely ridiculous.
would love
I
to,
mean,
but you know,
you're talking 9 cents a page there, bud. Who can afford that?
well, it didn't cost us anything. We were sending it.
Oh, okay. I'm just saying.
Still, though.
I mean, that's
right.
one of those got to go to Kinko's, Office Depot.
But still,
Somebody to find a fax machine.
Kept
like
one
back in time.
fax machine in the office.
Get in the
just
DeLorean.
for that board member.
Get in the
right?
DeLorean.
But how many organizations still have and use fax machines?
0.
But I don't think the point is fax machines, is it?
It's not.
Okay.
It's not about the facts. And it's not about shaming nonprofits.
No, not at all.
It's about that we don't like change.
We, you, and me?
No. Well, it's nonprofits. We don't like change. And I'm not talking about the coins in your pocket.
No.
There are many nonprofits that
Change
live
is
off of
hard.
that. I'm talking about change. The only constant in life is difficult.
Uh-huh.
And so therefore we just keep doing the same thing over and over. I kind of liken it to, imagine if you were in a forest and you had an axe and you had to chop down a tree.
Uh-huh.
I'm trying to picture you in a forest trying to chop down a tree.
I could
Of the
do that.
we could get you a flannel shirt and to go lumberjacking. We can get you some spikes on your shoes and everything.
Can do that. Yeah.
So, and after you keep chopping down the tree, your axe gets dull,
Uh-huh.
right? But you don't sharpen your axe. You just keep hacking away. It's going to take you longer to do that, right? Because you refuse to look up and sharpen your axe.
Well, it's kind of like you're tasked with chopping down half the forest to clear the forest, and you have an axe, but there's a perfectly good chainsaw over here.
That requires gasoline.
Right, it requires gasoline. You'd have to learn
What's
how
your
to work
carbon
it. You
footprint?
need safety goggles,
Oh.
right? So you just keep using the axe
Over and over. and
without
over.
kind of looking at how is that impacting me? It's making me more tired, et cetera, et cetera. It's taking longer versus if I invested the time in
Learning how to chainsaw.
exactly. Right?
You would also be in a horror movie soon. So that is fun.
Yes.
I don't watch horror movies because I'm a scaredy cat. So did you find that word that you were looking for in your depth of vocabulary?
I did. So the word is skeuomorphism.
Spell that, please.
Oh, dear goodness gracious. Let me get my glasses.
This is script spelling bee and Clay. It's in round 72.
SKEU.
Bing. Oh, sorry. I just want to see if you.
SKEUOMORPHISM. Skeuomorphism. A skeuomorph is a physical ornament or design on an object made to resemble another material or technique. In other words, speaking of hanging up the phone, if you were to look at your mobile device now, you would see that the phone symbol is still a handset.
It is.
Yes. Like the Google logo is still an envelope.
Oh, as if mail comes in the mail.
But your colleagues who said, when you hang up the phone, have never hung up a phone handset. And yet we're still using the symbol of a phone with the earpiece and that's a skeuomorph. Isn't that interesting?
Fundraising is nerdy, not funny.
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
I thought it was interesting.
It's wonderful. I'm so glad that we have skeuomorphs.
All right. I won't bring up anything interesting for the rest of the day.
I have something more interesting.
Tell me.
Than skeuomorphs.
Tell me.
So did you remember what I said was missing from the business card?
Yes. Now, I personally have never seen a business card without a mobile number on it.
Well, you're fancy.
I don't know about that. I probably don't get as many as you do, though.
I get the cards.
You do. You do.
I'm a card collector.
But I think it brings up the question, why?
You missed my joke.
I got card collector. Yeah.
Oh, you just didn't think it was funny.
I was trying to move on, but here we are, and now it's awkward for everybody.
Well, hi, everybody. I'm awkward. He's special.
I'm a special event.
Better than a mediocre event. So why don't we text our donors more? What is our problem?
Well, now. Okay.
What, I mean,
are you legit asking me? Or
legit asking anybody.
Why have we not embraced the technology?
Text as a channel.
Yeah.
We embraced email as a channel. Now, it was slow, and some of us still haven't figured out that email is not a letter cut and pasted into an email.
Correct.
With a greeting and a salutation and a dear and a cheers.
See, this is what's so great, right? This is what's so great about this discussion is there are a few key points where you and I do disagree on things. And the point there is, at least in my mind, is, right, know what works for your audience, know what your organization, and know the data behind it. Because you and I could sit here and quote data at each other all day of studies that support our opinions, right? But then there are things that, what aren't we embracing? What should we be embracing? Why are we still holding on to fax numbers? Why are we still holding on to why are we still holding on to our axes when there's a perfectly good chainsaw?
Why is there a field in our database for fax number and not Twitter handle or Instagram handle?
Fair point.
Just curious. I mean, our databases haven't exactly caught up to us. But if you want to talk about technology that hasn't caught up to us, like, hello, Microsoft Excel. You've known about the fact that zip codes with leading zeros, those of you in Maine, New Hampshire, and Vermont, you put your data in there.
You're hurting me.
I know.
You're causing me physical pain.
Yeah, and it just drops them as in, you're not important. So I'm going to shorten you to 4 and screw up your whole freaking mailing.
Yep.
Because in the 35 billion years that Microsoft Excel has been around, adapt is not their word. They're like, you better figure it out.
Well, you don't have to adapt to excel at something.
Oh, God, there he goes with the nerd jokes again. But let's talk about, so Excel hasn't adapted. Why should we adapt and text our donors? We really need to cover this. But first, we're thinking about you excelling makes me need a break.
Yes.
So let's take one. Get a snack.
Get a snack, and then we'll come back and talk about cells, but not the cells in Excel.
Here he goes again, people. How was your break? I had some root beer.
I had something wrapped in cellophane.
Here he goes again, people.
Mr.
Can we go? No. Clay?
I'm listening.
Sometimes you're just going to have to behave. So cell phones, why have we not, as nonprofit professionals, embraced text as a channel? So we have channels. We have direct mail. We have email. We have social media. We have phone calls, like where you actually use the phone as a phone.
Yes.
Right? And
let's not forget virtual now. We need to. We really need Zoom, to be talking about virtual.
Face to face.
Zoom, FaceTime, face to face is a channel.
Right? Yep. Like, why are nonprofits like? I mean, I know what I've heard at conferences. What have you heard about? I don't want to text my donor.
The main, at least in my world, right? And again, I focus more on individual giving, particularly at the low and the mid range.
The introductory
of the pyramid, still with the vocabulary. Nobody walks around going, "I'm a low end donor," right? But
that's what I aspire to be someday.
Someday, I want to be a mid range.
One day.
Someday we'll tackle that.
One day I'm going to be a vice principal gift donor instead of a principal gift donor.
You know what I want to do tonight? I want to sit down and plan my giving.
Yes. That's what I thought about.
Yeah. We'll talk about that another time. I do think there is still confusion and concern on the actual legalities of opt-in and usage and et cetera.
Educate yourself.
It's not that hard, right?
But what I've heard is, well, texting seems so invasive. And I'm like,
doesn't bother the political candidates now, does it?
Hello, Duty Hoffner. Like, Duty Hoffner. That's my word for doodlehead. Turd basket. I don't know.
Oh, you said a word.
I did. I said a word. It's 4 letters. Basket. Yeah. I think that texting is less invasive. You have my home address.
Sure.
You can literally do a virtual tour thanks to Redfin and Zillow and be like, oh, I don't like the bathroom soap she's chosen. Right? But my cell phone number?
Well, and what I love is
I can unsubscribe.
I don't want to do that. That might be invasive. And then, like you look online and people are sharing very intimate levels of themselves. I mean, you and I have chosen to do a podcast versus selling pictures of our feet on some.
I have great feet, but I draw the line.
I mean, but yeah, people are making money. Like
I'm selling photos of my wrists.
Your wrists. Right. Okay.
Riskfinder.com.
I do think that there is some valid, right, and appropriate concern in understanding
want to
what
be respectful.
opt-ins. Absolutely.
Everyone wants to be respectful.
Gathering opt-ins, getting permissions,
But like
all of that it's built into our programs now. It's relatively standard and it's easy to do.
What is so intrusive also about me being like, hey, Clay, I saw this beautiful rainbow over the campus today and I wanted to send it to you.
Exactly.
Clay,
exactly.
You know, your mother would have loved the roses in our rose garden today. We're thinking of her and the wonderful legacy your family has.
Well, isn't it because we're still afraid to ask?
Well, yeah. I mean,
if we see the ask as intrusive, no matter what channel we use, we're always going to think we're bothering.
Well, that
somebody.
makes me think of another podcast for us about surveying our donors and why we don't do it.
Yeah.
I can't. Oh, that's going to be a barn burner, folks.
But if we think of any of our communications, I don't want to mail them, right? I don't want to overmail. I don't want to over solicit.
I don't want you to overmail me either.
Good.
I'm single.
Then let me give you an opt-in so you can choose what communications you want to receive and let me manage to that.
My behavior shows you that.
Of course.
If I give for the last 5 years online, you sending me an envelope in the mail probably isn't going to inspire me the way a postcard with a QR code might.
This is one area where you and I have different experiences.
Fight. No.
Well, yeah. I mean, we don't know what's prompting the online giving. Maybe you're giving online because you're getting the piece of mail. Until I have talked to you, right? Until I have talked to you and you have said, please do not send me mail, send me email only, or don't solicit me, I'll give online.
Dear nonprofits, please, this is Lynn Marie Wester. Do not ever send me an envelope in the mail. I don't own a check.
Right? So.
Don't even have a checkbook. Not even the ones with Betty Boop or cats playing on them that I thought I would have as an adult. Remember that? And you were like, I can't wait to be an adult so I can have checks with Betty Boop on them.
And my fax number, which is where we started.
Right. Full circle moment there, Clay. So all this to say that change is hard and we acknowledge that. Right. And it's funny sometimes the things we hold on to.
It is.
It's funny. You know, we have online auction software for our auction events. We sign our gift agreements with digital, DocuSign, and I can buy a whole house.
Yep.
Right. And a whole car, not just half a car, but a whole car online. But I go and try to do something with a nonprofit sometimes. And you're like,
I got to send a fax.
I've got to
send a fax. The only number I've got here is a fax number. So let me.
The price is wrong, Bob. The price is wrong.
All right. So what's the takeaway for our friends that are, hey, wait a minute. I still have a fax number on my business card.
Yeah. Punchline here is, I think once a year or so, take time to sharpen your axe. Take time to sharpen your axe. Look at the forest and say, what are we doing today that we've been doing for a long time that I don't know if it makes sense or not?
I'm gonna extend your metaphor if I could, and either say,
get a chainsaw.
Right, take stock, and maybe it's time for me to learn the chainsaw, or even better, maybe it's just time to prune the forest and nurture the forest as it is.
Oh, slash and burn? No, just nurture it. Give it a little love.
Maybe the trees are right where they're supposed to be. But
sorry, they're like chainsaw noise.
The chainsaw noise is good. But right?
And it's time to shake things up. So
look at the things that you're holding on to that you may not need anymore.
And so many things we got rid of in the pandemic.
Yeah.
And the pandemic for many people is still going on, so I want to be respectful of that.
Sure.
It's now endemic almost. But what did you let go of that you never thought you would let go of before? Life, bathing, all kinds of fun things, right? You can't smell me through the Zoom. But we both bathed today, by the way, in case you were wondering.
In fact, regularly, sometimes more than daily. But anyway.
Right. All this to say is change isn't always bad.
Change isn't always bad.
And, we have an opportunity to share with each other. So we'd love to hear from you all. We love to hear from you at fundraisingisfunny.com.
Yep.
And
apparently Lynn is big on LinkedIn too.
So. Yeah. I mean, feel free to connect there. Big on LinkedIn. I don't know what that means. But what is the thing that you would love if your nonprofit would change? One tiny change, like something really simple.
Yeah.
Maybe it's you print all your thank you letters and mail them in the mail, even though we've been accepting email now for, or your tax receipts, for example, don't have to be mailed The IRS has accepted them in the United States since 1993 online.
Yeah.
And you can't file your taxes through the mail anymore.
You can't file. Let's file that away.
It's all digital now.
Yeah.
So what is the thing that your nonprofit won't give up? What's the tradition that's become mired instead of steeped? What's the change that you want to make? We'd love to hear from you. You can submit it to us at fundraisingisfunny.com. And what kind of funny story do you have about maybe where somebody said, you're going to make that change, and then and something bad's going to happen and nothing ever happened, where you were over concerned about something and it didn't work out, or it worked out and you were like, see?
Yep.
Wasn't so scary. You know, I mean, think about all of us who don't miss crank up, crank down windows in your vehicle. Remember those days? You would touch it and it would sear the Chevy logo onto your hand as you wound it down and then wound it back. You don't have that problem anymore. I hope for you. What? Some of us love an antique.
You do, it's true.
I mean, I'm just trying not to become one.
There you go.
And on that note,
On that note.
we'll talk to you later.